All right, awesome. Welcome to another workout, another home-based workout because of the world that we live in. And obviously that's why I'm working out in my bedroom, just like I'm sure you are, or your front room or your kitchen or something along those lines, okay? And first thing you want to make sure that you've got is a nice bit of space, and you're going to need space all the way around you, maybe up above you and all those kinds of things. Other thing you're going to need maybe is some kind of big rubber band, okay? So if you've got one, brilliant, go and grab it now. Make sure you've got it with you. If you need one, you can always DM me, talk to me about them and what best ones to get and all those kinds of things. And you might want some water, bit of fluid, something along those lines as well, just for a little bit of thirst. And maybe you've got some tunes on in the background to keep you motivated, to keep you banging out the reps, those kinds of things, okay? A lot of what we've got today is just 100% body weight work. So as long as you, like I say, you've got your body and you're nice and fit and healthy, no problems, then we'll be able to get some stuff done. Hopefully the workout should be no longer than an hour, half an hour or so. It's just a little quick one. But obviously if you want to turn it into a more sustained long period one, then do it twice. Simple maths. Okay, so let's start by just mobilizing the body, those kinds of things. What we're going to do first and foremost, if you need a little bit of wall for balance purposes or something along those lines, grab something now for that. If not, we're just going to go bend upon one leg and just swing it in front of the body. So a lot of the movements we're going to be doing today, we're going to be doing in sets of 10. Now, if you follow my videos and you've done any other videos before, you know that I can never count. Okay, I'm always forgetting. So don't always copy me straight for straight, rep for rep. Do some counting of your own. Make sure that you're getting those sets of 10. So we've done one leg, let's go ahead and do the other. So we're firing across the body best we can. Stability going on that back leg. Slight soft bend in that knee as well. At every range of motion, if you need to, don't worry about putting the toe down or something along those lines, okay? We'll go back to the first leg again. Loads of different parts of your body are getting mobilized through this motion. We've got your core stabilizing you. We've got hamstrings which are stabilizing you. We've got hips that are working here, all those kinds of things. Glutes as well, all these different body parts that we're going to use today. Back to the other leg. Remember, we're trying to get up to 10. 4 for me there. Keep count on your own. And that goes for the rest of the session. Like I say, count your reps. Just do as many as you need to up to that set of 10. Brilliant. Now we're just going to do forward and back kicks with a straight leg. 1, 2. There we go. All right. Try and keep that leg as straight as possible. And only go as far as you can until that leg starts to bend just a little bit. So as soon as that little soft bend in the knee comes, that's your range of motion for this one. Same with the other leg. We're going to do this on each leg twice. As we continue to mobilize the legs. Always important to make sure the body's ready to go for everything that we're doing. Same on the other leg again. And it's certainly something I know that I've only really started to kind of really get in depth with and really take a lot more time with recently. So don't worry about any kind of session or class or anything like that where you find that mobilization and warm-up period lasts, you know, a nice portion of it, because all we're doing is we're making sure that the body is ready to move. We're making the body sure that the body's prepared for the movements as well. There's lots of things going on inside the brain as we're doing all these movements as well. The brain's becoming better at these movements. That's why I recommend doing perfect reps rather than forcing through reps. The body's also creating all kinds of code and challenging its own range of motion and all those kinds of things. So lots of developmental stuff going on there as well. Okay, let's come down to a lunge position. So we want one knee under the hip, one knee over the ankle. And all we're going to do to start with, keep that front foot on the floor. It's just pulses forward. Okay, maybe you put your hands behind your back just to keep that upper body posture. We've got a squeeze in what feels like one glute as we're pulsing forward. You'll feel a slight engagement of that quad as well. Remember, once again, we're going up to 10. And then we're going to swap legs. There we go. Good upper body posture. Anytime we do these kind of movements, upper body posture is what we're looking for. Oh, just felt a click there in my hip. Once again, all the way up to 10. It's a very small motion. It's a very small motion. Back to the other leg again. I just go from the side so you can see, like I say, knees under, knee is under hip, knee is on top of ankle. And once again, it's just this tiny little thrust of the hips forward is all we're looking for. Squeezing that glute at the end of your range of motion as you get through there. Remember, we're going up to 10. And every movement that we're doing today, every single movement is just nice and slow and controlled. This is a session for body development. It's not there to necessarily get a huge stress, a huge sweat on or anything like that. We're looking to perfect body movements. We're looking to make the body better, bulletproof it for everyday activities, whether that is sport, moving furniture around, getting in and out of the sofa, whatever it is. Perfecting body movements. Lovely. Okay, so we've done our lunge pulses. From that lunge position again, we went forward and back. This time we're going to do slight up and down. So I'll show you from the side again. So you're in your lunge position. This time, definitely want to make sure that your toes are rolled under so you can push up off them. And all we're going to do this time is a slight pulse up and down. And that's it. So knees down. So we're up to 10 again. Once again, this upper body posture is what we're looking to keep. And we're only going to do this once on each side this time. It gets super aggressive. It gets super involved on those quad muscles. Quad muscles being the pushing muscles on the front of your thighs. So same on the other leg again. So 10 more. Remember that good upper body posture. Remember, anytime we're developing anything to do with this lunge, if you need it for balance, get yourself by a wall, put the hand on the wall, get one of the kids right in front of you, put your hand on their head, whatever you need to do. Lovely. Remember, we're up to 10 on these. Lovely. Super intense on those pushing muscles. Small muscles, but they're super strong. And those pushing muscles are what keep us away from gravity all day. So don't worry about really challenging them. They're good at keeping us up. Okay, we're down to our backs next. Feet flat on the floor in front of us. Let's go for straight ahead, down from our butt cheeks. So as close to your butt as you can. Shoulders are staying down. And now we're just going to fire the hips up as high as we can. Slight hold at the top. Return to the floor. Once again, 10 times with the glute raise. As you're squeezing up, resist the temptation to drive these shoulders up towards the ears, okay? So try and maintain the space as we're going through. And remember, it's a slight hold at the top. You should be feeling your glutes squeezing here, like you're trying to crack a nut in them. Glutes being your butt, obviously. All the way up to 10. Once again, I've already lost count, see? That seems about right. Then we're going to take a slight step forward, maybe a second. This time we're going to bring our toes high off the floor. We're going to go through the same 10 motion, so hips high. So you're probably feeling it a little bit more on your hamstrings this time. So that will be the center point, the muscle between the knee and the hip, right here. And once again, we're trying to hold it for a second or so at the top of every one of those 10 reps. Pushing up whatever your full range of motion is today. Don't ever worry about your range of motion from previous sessions or anything like that. It's always what we can do today. Okay, so your range of motion may be bigger or smaller than mine, and that's fine. As long as we're feeling the work on the muscles themselves and not in any joints. If you feel the movement in, the movement in the joint areas, take a step back, see if we can feel it in the muscle itself. So always take it nice and slow so we feel it there. Go ahead and grab your band next. And what we're going to do is take those hands directly out in front of you at shoulder height. And you're just going to pull your band out, hold, and then return. Just 10 times. During this motion, we want to really concentrate on driving our shoulder blades into our back pockets. So that shoulders roll back, chest rolls forward for a set of 10, like I say. I've got to catch up a little bit. Look at my hands, they're not coming in together or anything like that. They start out at shoulder distance, they get deeper, further away, but then they return to that position. 10 done, good stuff. Going to bring those elbows in now. Elbows are at the side. We want static elbows. They're not coming away from the body, okay? They're not raising, they're not coming out from the body or anything like that. Same situation. Hands out at that shoulder level, and once again, 10 pull apart. Much smaller range of motion because of the joints that we're not using anymore. Okay, elbow motion is very restricted compared to the shoulder. Okay, and that's fine. And once again, depending on how aggressive your elastic band is, your resistance band depends on how far apart and how big your movement might be. Mine's quite an aggressive little whippersnapper, so my range of motion looks very small. Remember, we're going to 10. And obviously this is a video, so if I'm too fast or anything like that, go ahead and stick a pause on, finish your set of 10 before pressing that play button for the next exercise, okay? What we're going to look to do now, bring the arms straight back out in front of us again. And now we're going to stagger them. So one is just going to go slightly lower than the other. Okay. Once you're there, take up a bit of slack so those arms become a little bit further apart than shoulders. Once again, still that beautiful back posture. You're going to pull it away from each other. Boom. For a set of 5 there. 3 for me. 4. And then 5. And then what we're going to do is just reverse the opposite arm high. Same thing. Trying to keep those arms nice and straight throughout the motion. Trying not to lose the gap between our shoulders and our ears. There we go, lovely stuff. Okay, so first set of 10 movements we're going to do right now, we're going to do push-ups. Okay, so from the floor. Couple of key points before we get into our reps. We're going to talk about hand position. We want your hands somewhere around your chest level. Okay, so think about where your chest is. Chest muscle is usually just around that kind of nipple area, maybe a little bit lower, coming up to around here. Okay, that's where the big bulk of it is. So we want our hands somewhere along this line. What you'll notice will happen as soon as I do this, see how my elbows are pointing down and away from my body? I don't want the elbows high or up here like that. I want the elbows pointing down and away from the ears. So how that looks on the floor is those hands are there on the floor, usually just outside armpit level, I say. Elbows are pointing down and away from the armpits. And then we go from there. We're going for a set of 10. And if you're not quite ready for full press-ups yet, with your knees off the floor, that's fine. We pop the knees down. We go through 10 motions with the knees down. That's fine. If we're developing the press-up, perfectly normal to start with the knees down. One point I do want to put out there, though, and I want to emphasize this, is the press-up comes from a plank position, okay? So if you're doing it with your knees down, you start in the plank, then put your knees down, and as you're going through the motion, the hips and the chest comes to the floor, okay? A press up from the knees is not just your head and your shoulders coming down, okay? We're not in a tabletop position, headbutting or praying on the floor. It is from a plank, knees down, down, and then up. Cores engaged the whole time, okay? So when you're ready, you've got a set of 10. I'm going to do set 10 with my knees on the floor for the first set. For the second set, I'll do the full one. So there it is. Good position. 10. Controlling those elbows. That's number 6. There we go. Nice, controlled press up. Now there's lots of variations of press ups depending on where you put your hands, what you do with your elbows, all those kinds of things. Diamond press ups, super hard, bringing the hands right in the middle, doing press ups here. Wide grip, taking a wide grip all the way out here for the press up, and everything else in between. There's obviously the two extremes there. We can also change the hand position high or lower, all those kinds of things to hit different parts of the pec, but also to challenge the body through different ranges of motion. The body gets strong through whatever range of motion you work it. So if you continue to do one range of motion through your training, you'll get very strong in that range of motion. And whilst a little bit of it does start to kind of apply to different movements, you're only going to get strong through those specific movements by training them. So that's why I always recommend when you're doing sets of exercises, change them up ever so slightly in kind of form, just so you get a good round base of strength. So second round, another set of press ups. We've got another set of 10. This time I'm going to have the legs up. I'm regretting the choice to do it that way round already because my triceps are now burning me. Hooray. Anyway, set of 10. Once again, remember, regardless of what I'm doing here, this is your time to do your set of 10 press ups. Off we go. So what you could do is you could start with your press ups with the knees off. When you can't do any more, then pop your knees down to finish off your set. Nothing wrong with that. But we're on a set of 10. Working through. Trying to make every rep perfect. Keep breathing the whole time. There we go. Possibly one of the only movements I ever do where I always count, because very, very punishing movements, I think, press ups, but they're very, very good. Chest strength, arm strength, core strength, all those kinds of things. Okay, so we're going to change it over now onto our backs. So we did a bunch of press ups. Wonderful. And if you feel like you need some more press ups, go ahead, pause the button now. Maybe you want to rack out another couple of sets. Another set of 10, another set of 10, maybe as much as 5 sets of 10. With body weight working at the moment, so things like recovery in regards to DOMs, muscle destruction and rebuild are drastically reduced because we're not over-stressing the body with extra weights. So if you wanted to do a few more a few more sets, pause the button, go ahead and do them. When you're ready to move on to the next movement, obviously unpause it. So what we're going to do next, we're going to go onto the floor and we're going to do dead bugs, okay? Great core exercise, great coordination exercise as well. Really good for building good posture, controlling the pelvis, and helping strength, especially around that lower back. So this is one of those ones I super recommend to anybody who has either a bad back or has twinges because they sit at office desks a lot, all those kinds of things. The dead bug. Start position is just lying on our backs, and we want the lumbar, so that part of our back, the lower back, above the butt cheeks. We want to keep that flat on the floor. Knees are going to stack up over the top of hips, shins parallel to the floor. Arms directly up on top of the shoulders. The movement is opposite arm, opposite leg. And we're leading with the heel towards the floor as close as we can before returning back to the position. And then we return and do the opposite arm, opposite leg. So off you go. We're going to do a sort of 10 altogether. That ends up being 5 kickouts from each leg. And it's a nice slow motion. This is all very controlled. The whole time I want you to concentrate on keeping that lumbar flush to the floor. Especially when fatigue sets in, one of the things you're maybe noticing is that your pelvis starts to turn and that lower back comes off the floor and your butt comes onto the floor a little bit more. The body's got this real sneaky way of overcompensating and finding new ways to do movements when our main sets become fatigued. So the example in this one, when your core becomes fatigued through the movement, the body starts to leverage different ways of doing the work to allow those tired areas to rest. But we don't want it to, so we're going to control that lumbar and keep it flat on the floor. I think that's about 10 for me. But remember, you're doing 10 in total. Flush back on the floor. Good posture with all of the movements. In fact, probably every movement that we'll do. Shoulder blades is our key for the upper body, down and back to our back pockets. We don't want to kind of decrease the gap between shoulders and ears or anything like that. We're quite happy with that space there. Okay, so round one done with our dead bugs. We're going to do another round now. This is obviously one of those ones you needed to make sure you had enough space either side of you because we are stretching to your full range of motion. With the arms, like I mentioned, you do start above the shoulders and you're just trying to bring them up as flush as you can in a straight line as you're making these motions, okay? Very much depending on the makeup of your shoulders, especially the internal sections of your shoulders, the internal rotation, what your range of motion is like will very much dictate how easy and how natural this motion feels. Okay, if you've ever had a shoulder injury, you might find that you do not have this range of motion to get your arm all the way up, and that's fine. All you're looking to do each single time you bring that arm up is push it as far as you can. You may only get 75% of the way there, but push into it ever so slightly and bring it back. Dynamically moving it further and further as far as you can each time is going to present the brain with more and more code and make it happier with that movement. If you do this movement with stiffness 100 times, every time you do it, it's going to get a little bit better. It's going to get a little bit further back and all those kinds of things. When your range of motion disappears, it's generally because you haven't done the motion regularly or your body is protecting itself from an injury. So the only way to increase that range of motion is to continue to introduce and continue with consistency to make that movement. Then the body gets more comfortable with it, allows the body to keep moving through that range of motion. So let's go ahead and do a second set with those dead bugs. Lumbar, concentrate, flat on the floor, knees above hips, shins parallel to the floor, arms up. Once again, we're on a set of 10 total, 5 on each leg. Nice, slow, and controlled. There we go. Remembering to breathe, okay? We get a good controlled breathing throughout. That's a pro tip for life. Keep breathing. Body kind of needs it for a lot of things. So remember, we're going to 10 total. Make sure you're counting. I've got one more on each leg. And each rep, when I get to the top, I'm making sure I'm resetting if necessary. The weight is through my lumbar, that's flush on the floor, rather than allowing my hips to tilt forward and taken away from my lumbar. Okay, once again, that's only 2 sets that we've done. If you feel there's a little bit more, if you start to get that slight burning sensation of use in there, pause it, do a couple more sets if you want to, press play again when you're ready to take on some more. Okay, the last thing we're going to do is we're just going to do some bog standard planks and we're going to hold and release. So we're going to hold them for 10 seconds and then we're going to release it for 5 seconds. And we're just going to do 6 rounds of that. Plank on, 10, plank off for 5, straight back on, off, etc. Okay, so plank position, elbows down or palms down, whatever more comfortable for you. Regardless of which one you choose, you want either your elbow or your palm directly under the shoulder, okay? Directly underneath, so you're almost stacking bone on bone. By stacking that situation up, there's a lot less stress on muscles to stabilize and work, which means you can concentrate much more on that core. Okay, so I'm going to set my watch. Remember, we're going 10 seconds on, 5 seconds off. That 5 seconds goes real quick, so get ready to work through this, okay? So we're down, we're ready, starting in 3, 2, 1, and we're up for 10 seconds. Nice line from shoulders to hips to ankles. 1, down we go. So we've got 5 seconds. Getting ready to go back up. 2, 1, there we go. So we're back up. Core's engaged. That belly button is being pulled in. That corset that's supporting the spine is engaged. Back down for 5. 2 of 6 done. And up we go again for number 3. Remember, we're only working 10 seconds at a time. 1, and back down we go. 3 done. Number 4, up we go. Concentrate the entire time. Remember, we're keeping our shoulders away from our ears the entire time. Back down we go. That is 5, 4. There we go. Back up we go. We've got 1 more to go after this. 3, 2, 1, and back down. Okay, our final one coming up, number 6, off we go. Final one. If you've got those shakes, just embrace it. Keep the core tight. That just means that the body is working out the code on how to deal with the stresses. Down we go, good. Okay, great work. Let's just rest up. Let's get a stretch on. There's a few areas that we've stressed today, so let's make sure we give them a little bit of extra attention. Key to stretching is consistency. And you need to be way more consistent with your stretching than you are with a lot of other training elements. You can make great progress through strength and body mobility and all those kinds of things through kind of 2-3 sessions a week. With stretching, it's something else a little bit more consistent. My personal recommendation is stretching maybe once, twice a day to improve your range of motion. Okay, I certainly personally, at this time I'm rehabbing an injury in my leg and my hip. I'm stretching 3 to 4 times a day to continue to allow my body to feel comfortable with the range of motions and also to alleviate the stiffnesses that come along and the overcompensation that comes along with injuries. So consistent and nice and easy. Now what I like to do with my stretching is to have especially for these first few that we're going to do, have something to lean up against to support the posture. So by supporting my posture with a wall, sitting against the wall, that means I don't have to worry about my core being engaged to support the body. I can get the stretch directly onto my muscles. So here's what I'm going to do to start with. I'm just going to take my legs nice and far apart, as far as I can. And just by sitting here right now, there is a stretch on. Okay, now depending on how tight you are, what injuries you're carrying, what you've done today, what you're going to do later, etc., will very much depend on not only where you feel the stretch, but how intense it is. Okay, so this one, for example, right now I am feeling very much around my inner thighs with a little bit in my hamstring as well on my compensation side. My injury's on this side. As you would imagine, whenever you're injured, you're going to overcompensate with the other side. So it's a little bit harder work there. And so right now it feels a little bit more for me. What I'm going to take you through next is let's bring one foot all the way in. And bring your sole into your thigh. Try and keep the knee on the floor, the glute on the floor. And we're going to just take ourselves as far into the extended leg as possible. So you may only be holding on to your knee. You may be able to grab hold of your ankle or your shin. If you're super flexible, maybe you've even got your hands on your foot to really bring this stretch in, okay? All depends on what your body's feeling like, depending on how you're feeling and how much attention you've spent increasing your range of motion. But as always, try and keep those shrugs away. We don't want this situation as we're forcing it on. And we should just feel a nice stretch on the muscle. If you feel it in a joint, you need to pull it back, maybe put a soft bend in the knee, and then go back into it. Also, if you want a little bit more of a stretch, you do have a wall behind you, so you can push and bring the stretch on as well. So not only does it support you, but it is also there to assist you with a stretch. So just go ahead and do that on the other side as well, so that leg goes back out. Sole underfoot. Start with a good posture and then ease yourself into the stretch. Remember, we're trying to keep both your butt cheeks on the floor. Try and keep this knee on the floor as well as we go forward towards that leg. And we really should only be feeling mild discomfort, okay? We don't want pain, we don't want grimacing. Mild discomfort is as much as we're taking away from this, okay? So that kind of, when someone's poking you a lot and you're like, well, that's annoying. That's not my favorite thing to do, but it's tolerable. Same kind of thing with a stretch. It's like, that's on. It's not very nice, but it's tolerable. That's about as much as we want in there. Okay, good. Back to seated, and what we're looking to do, let's cross our legs. Once we've crossed our legs, we're going to drive ourselves forward through the hip, fold, try and bring your forearms to the floor. Okay? If you can get your forearms to the floor, great. Then start trying to bring your head, your forehead to the floor. So we've got a whole big situation going on here. We've got stretching going on around our hips, maybe in your glutes, maybe in your hamstrings, maybe somewhere else depending on your tightness. Maybe a little bit in your lower back. When you're easing yourself into when you're getting into every stretch, make sure you're easing yourself into them nice and slowly. A big deep breath in during a stretch, and on the exhale, if you want to take them a little bit further, that's the best way of doing it. So a big deep breath in. On the exhale, push it through a little bit more. And then with this one, we're going to bring ourselves out once again, nice and easy. Cross the legs the other way around, and then just repeat the process. And all this is going to do is just bring it on ever so slightly to the other side. You have a hip area a little bit more intense, the other glute. Lovely stuff. Okay. In my eyes, one of the most missed stretching areas on the whole body is your foot. Especially considering all the work that it does. So what we're going to do is we're just going to roll those toes under and just sit up straight on top of those toes. Once again, if this is something you do regularly, it's not a bad stretch at all. If this is the first time you've done it, there is every opportunity, every reason that this is going to hurt a lot. So be careful with that. If it does hurt, then maybe you start by going on it for 5 seconds and coming off it, going back on it, doing it in like little intervals like that. But once you've got into your regime and you've done it quite a lot, you can quite happily sit there for quite a long period of time. And once again, posturing back, shoulders back and down. We're still concentrating on correct form. We're also going to bring the arms behind the back and push them down and away from our shoulder blades. So if we're at our butt cheeks today, that's fine. We're introducing all kinds of movements, all kinds of stretches, all those kinds of things to develop certain body situations. But we want to be working to driving those arms away as well. This rotates the shoulders back. This is pushing the chest forward. And this is accentuating that perfect posture position that I mention all the time. That's a tongue twister. Perfect posture position. Lovely stuff. Okay, thank you very much for today. Hopefully you got something out of this workout. And by all means, Go ahead and leave a comment in the comment section. Give it a like, give it a share, give me some feedback, anything like that. If you enjoyed it, if there's something more you want to see, all those kinds of things. Apart from that, have a great day, and I'll see you next time. Oh, and a high five.